you said when you were younger, you realized you were gay.
Yes.
Right. When did you realize, and when also did that become a conversation with your parents?
So I thought growing up I was born a woman until I was like 5.
Oh, okay.
So
this is where my research fell short.
No, it's weird.
We're done, guys.
It's weird. The research, we need to pull up the citations. The citation page is wrong. No, I grew up thinking I was a girl, or, when you're a little kid, you don't think about gender.
Sure.
You don't just think like, oh my God, I must like X product because this company is promoting this to boy. You know what I mean? You don't think that. You're just like, whatever you like, you like.
Mm-hmm.
So I did not know until I was in preschool. I don't know what age you are in preschool, 5, 6?
Yeah, around 5.
Five or so. So I was always a little bit more mature because my siblings were a little bit older than me. So I was always just a little bit ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And so I never liked to do naps ever. Nap time was like not a thing for me. So my teacher would allow me to play dress up.
Sure.
Wow. And this was like on a military base, mind you, in Virginia. So
that's not the dress up we thought.
Yeah. So I would put on the dresses, and she was a cool teacher. Her name was Melanie. I don't even know why I remember that right now. Melanie.
Just early support.
And then it wasn't until another teacher from one of the classes had come over, just probably to talk to the teacher, Kiki or whatever. And she was like, "Why would you let that little boy do that? That's disgusting."
Oh, wow.
Like, how dare you let him put on that dress? Like, should we talk to the parents? Like, this whole big ordeal. And that's when I first realized, I was like, oh wait, this is like wrong. I shouldn't be, I shouldn't like this. And then it kind of developed more and more when my favorite color is pink. And when I was in the first or kindergarten, I'm like, oh, what's your favorite color? Pink. And the boys are like, ah. I'm like, oh, okay. So for early on, I knew I had to, like, in a sense, hide that from from everybody.
Yeah, well, especially early on, it's like,
it's crazy.
Yeah, kids are little animals, so it's just
but
self-preservation.
It's crazy how much you can remember, or that you have the, like, because kids are so smart, and the things that obviously I can't even imagine with social media these days. But I was experiencing and self-aware at a very early age. So once I kind of knew this whole gay thing, I knew how to mask it. But it was only a gay thing because I wasn't educated on trans. Like, that wasn't even slightly a conversation.
And that was, for you, was your kind of first introduction to that when I think you were 8 and you saw a documentary.
Yes.
What was that?
I don't remember what it was.
But it just, okay.
It clicked in me, but I remember I was watching it. It was like on TV, and I just like remember seeing something, and it was like, I think even back then it was like, obviously just as like, I was like, okay, like I think this might be it. And I think I what reinforced it too was on Ugly Betty. They had, I know
yeah,
such a random show,
solid show
on Ugly Betty. They had that girl who played Mystique, by the way. They cast a real female as the trans woman.
Okay.
Rebecca Romaine, maybe?
I don't know.
I think I don't know how I remember.
Nods from the audience.
I'm remembering these names.
Yeah.
They had this whole thing where, this guy had a brother, and then his brother got in a ski accident. He thought his brother died, and then his brother came back as a woman, this whole trans thing.
Sure.
And that was another time where I was like, oh, wait, this is like, oh, okay. Like, I mean, obviously they had a woman playing
sure.
Don't get me into that. But that was like another moment where I was like, okay, wait, this could be a thing.
Sure.
Right. And then I just grew up now in high school and all that stuff, just thinking I was the most extreme, super feminine version of a gay. And even too, I really didn't live as a gay male because I never had like, a gay boyfriend, or I never had like sex or anything. So it wasn't like I really was, in a sense, living a gay life, if that makes any sense.
And when do the parents get involved or no?
When I was gay, or that I was about to be trans?
Both.
Okay. The gay moment was, they've known. It's just been, I think they just really thought I loved girls. Because they're like, oh yeah, he
infatuated.
He loves to play only the girl characters.
Sure. Loves
to only draw girls. I think he's gonna be like a designer, because I used to just draw. At the time I was drawing like the dragon, and like with the clothes and the hair that I've always wanted and stuff. But yeah, I think they just thought I was just like,
just always
gonna be like a Hugh Hefner or something, right? Like just obsessed with the girl.
I just didn't know if you had one of those moments where you were like, I have to tell you something, and they're like, well,
no, I kind of did. I definitely had one with my mom. Like I told her, like I think after like watching like Sex in the City or something, it was so random because the only time that it would kind of come up was like, oh, I can't wait for you to like marry a girl one day, or like, oh, I can't wait for you, like what kind of girlfriend, or like what, like kind of though, and that's the uncomfortable feeling that would be. And then after like one of those moments, I kind of was like, hey, hey. I mean, you kind of know, but like, hey, what's up? And then for my dad, it was like, Lady Gaga has her monsters.
Sure.
And she has a very prevalent, obviously LGBTQ plus community and like the monsters. Like my dad's very foreign, so his kind of correlation between gay and monsters, like Gaga, are kind of similar. So I think one day he was like doing laundry and he's like, "Are you a monster?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Okay. Wait, and so
that was the click.
Okay.
Of like the gay,
right?
Of the gay stuff.
So what about trans?
Trans was harder because trans was, I came out here to LA. I met my first trans person ever. And I just was starting to learn. I was in the scene more. And I was also in college. And my college isn't a traditional college. So it's not like we have parties and stuff. Like,
sure.
So and being in the middle of LA, I would go out to like WeHo and West Hollywood and the underground gay community, trans community. That's who I like really was like roughing and toughing it with in the streets, and then make it to my 8 a.m. class somehow. So the trans girls I met all were working girls. And that means obviously that they were being paid to have sex. And that's probably, from what I've seen in LA, especially when I was growing up here in this like past 3-4 years, probably like 80%, if not more, of the trans women that I've met are all working women.
That's interesting.
And I would see
them. Do you think
that
there's a reason for that?
Yeah, there is. I mean, I think it's because a multitude of reasons. I think it's money. Because to afford the surgeries, like facial feminization surgery, the one that, I've got my whole thing done. I mean, it's just like tops of it, whatever. My body's like worth, too much. I could have bought a house, a car, and a more like insurance. And like it's just, it's expensive. And that's why you see, unfortunately, the use of black market stuff and botch stuff and trans women losing their lives. And it's just this whole dark, it's really crazy, but it's also a fantasy at the same time. It's so wild. So imagine I'm here partying with the most gorgeous women I've ever seen in my entire life that I literally could not even scratch the surface of their beauty. Like the biggest tits, the biggest asses, the smallest waist, like hair, glam, always.
Sure.
And they're with these like basketball players, these rappers, these celebrities, like married men, like, and it just seems so glamorous. They bring them Louboutins, they bring them like purses. Now they're driving a Porsche or whatever. Like it just was so glamorous that I almost fell into it just by being surrounded by it. Right. Like I just was like, oh, I'm like a really broke college kid. Yes, of course I have my scholarship that's paying for my school and it's paying for my apartment, but I'm living in a 2-bedroom apartment with 4 roommates, so it's like
when you say that you were feeling the appeal, was it because you kind of just saw only the positives and you hadn't been introduced to the much darker side of that, where you see kind of like the violence that gets involved?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you would hear about it, obviously, and you would see the news and stuff, but then it's just like when you're in it, it's like, oh no, it's LA, like whatever. Like, look at all this stuff. It's amazing. They wake up at like 3 p.m., 5 p.m., go get ready, go out all night, and then do it all over again. But then obviously when I was learning and seeing the real tolls that it takes on their life, obviously mentally, about having the idea that no man would ever want them besides having them as this kind of like, little side piece on the little hidden secret, and that they would never be brought to the day of like to the light of day, out with or seen with anybody. It was crazy. And to see the surgeries and to see, I've been in the rooms when people are getting silicone injected into them or crazy body modifications, and it's a real thing. And so it was tough to see. And I think what was strong in me is like still that will that I was talking about earlier of like wanting to do things that no one's ever done. And just, I've always had that one thing in me. And it's like, maybe I wasn't the coolest, maybe I didn't have the money or whatever, but I've always wanted to just be different. And so I wanted to make my money my own way. And that wasn't to like knock anybody else of like the sex work, but it just wasn't what I wanted to do, because I never wanted a man to say that he's ever bought me anything or that he bought me a career or that, I am where I am because of him. I think that had a lot to do with my mom too, because she's like strong Mexican woman. Yeah. She's like, even too when I was transitioning, she's like, if you're gonna be a woman, you're gonna be a bad, like strong bitch. Like you're gonna be strong. Like you're not gonna be a weak bitch. You're gonna be a girl. You're gonna do it right. And I'm like, okay, mom. Like, that was like her one thing. So that's when I started Instagram and YouTube and everything. So I started when I came to LA going on 4 years ago. Started college.
FID